Welcome, 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 welcome to Love Tips and Velvet Lips. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm happy to have you here with me. I am Marla Renee Stewart here live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, and of course on Instagram. Thank you all so much for joining me today. We are going to be talking about pleasure is a practice. But before we get to that, just to let you know, please, if you have any questions, you can feel free to DM me. You can feel free to leave them in the comments. You can always go to qrco.de/lovetipsama to submit to them anonymously, and I'm happy to answer them there as well. If you have not gotten your intimacy bucket list, please make sure you do that. You can just go to velvetlips.kit.com/VL bucket list. But again, today is all about pleasure as a practice, right? And I think oftentimes we forget that pleasure is so important. And so, I think one of the best things that we can do for ourselves is really thinking about how we envision and how we invoke pleasure in our daily practice, right? So, this month is all about pleasure, the big O, ways to get there, challenges in getting there, all of those different things. But one of the things that we have to think about, especially as it pertains to pleasure, is that it is something you practice daily. It's something that you want to receive daily. It's a daily invitation to be present in your body, in your life, overall. And so many people struggle to name what brings us pleasure, unless it's tied sometimes to that intimacy or that gratification, right? So I really want you to think about pleasure differently. And now, I always prioritize the big O. I'm not gonna lie, I do prioritize that, yes. But one of the most simple questions I ask my clients is, what makes you happy? What are some of the things that you do that bring you pleasure, right, in your everyday life? So you're just not dependent maybe upon your relationship or someone else to bring you that sort of pleasure. What are the things that are making you happy, right? And a lot of times people are kind of stunned by this question because they're just kind of like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean? Talking about my pleasure? Talking about, what makes me happy? And, well, I'm just, people are like, maybe I just have to work or I just have to do all the things. And that can really be daunting, especially if you're not prioritizing your pleasure, right? And we know that if you are in a relationship, prioritizing pleasure is number one. Prioritizing intimacy, that is going to help you have a long sustaining relationship. So we often forget about just other ways our bodies are and our minds are wired to experience joy, to experience that delight. But we have to know, like, pleasure lives everywhere in everything that we do. It's in our senses, in our choices, in our everyday rituals. These are the things that matter, right? And so when we're thinking about pleasure, one of the things that we have to really think about is mindfulness. Excuse me. And when it comes to mindfulness, we have to understand that this is one of the most accessible gateways to pleasure because it's simply being aware of what you're doing as you're doing it, right? Thinking about sipping your favorite beverage or, if you have some tea, right? Just like, feeling the tea go down your throat and into your body and your chest, maybe warming you up, but feeling the warmth on the mug, smelling the aroma of the tea, the flavor of the tea, like any of those things, we're like tapping into our senses. We're being a little bit more mindful in how we're experiencing the pleasure in our bodies. So when we really bring our attention to these moments, we are creating these microcosms of pleasure. We're creating the dopamine fixes for ourselves. We're creating all of these things that can really transform our day at any given point in time because we are engaging in that pleasure. Excuse me. So, one of the best things we can do is to tap into our senses, right? As I just described, like, when you're sipping tea and you're experiencing all of these things, you're experiencing the smell, the aroma, the warmth of the mug, all of those things. You want to really start to engage in your own pleasure by tapping into those senses, right? So if you have all five senses, great. Think about textures, like what are three textures that make you feel good? What sounds calm or excite me? What scents bring you back to a joyful memory, right? What tastes do you savor the longest, right? Maybe your favorite foods, right? What sights fill you with awe, right? What is something that you like to see that you're just like, oh, that's beautiful, right? But just tapping into those senses, really getting a full understanding of your entire pleasure, that is key to really embracing that in your everyday life. So if you're really, really having a hard time, being like, I don't know what brings me pleasure, I'm not sure, you can try journaling, you can try voicing your answers, talking to the AI and saying, like, tapping in and having the AI maybe ask you questions about pleasure so you can really start to tap in, or even asking friends, like asking your friends, like, when you're with me, what do you think brings me pleasure? When have you seen me happy? These things are going to help you understand yourself a little bit more. So, asking yourself questions like, what brings me joy lately? What do I do that makes me feel the most alive? When was the last time I laughed from my gut, which is like all the time, but what small things bring me comfort, calm, or energy, right? And all of these little answers are big answers because they help us to understand our own pleasure. And we have to understand these answers are ultimately the roadmaps to our unique pleasure blueprint, right? I was talking to a friend and I was talking about one of my favorite sounds. And one of my favorite sounds is chickens when they celebrate. Um, and they when they lay an egg and they all like celebrate for each other, like they lay an egg and they're like, rah, 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 they're like celebrating, and I'm like, oh my god, I love this sound. I love this because it's just like, yes, 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 like the energy is just so exciting. They're like, I did that, congratulations to me, round of applause, and everybody's like, yeah, yeah, you did it, you did it. And so it's joy, it's pure joy in my eyes. So whenever I am feeling down or whenever I need to remember, like, there's lots of joy in the world despite, like, all the things that are going on in the planet right now, and we can feel depressed real quick. We have to think about those moments of joy and pleasure. So it's like, oh, I'm feeling down, I got to think of what makes me happy all the time, right? And that can help you and help me get out of any kind of sad situation. Okay, so one thing too is to think outside the intimacy box, right? We know pleasure, yes, there's arousal and pleasure, yes, it's emotional, yes, we have sensory, sometimes it's spiritual, right? Like our whole SES conference this year is all spiritual awakening, right? We know pleasure can be big belly laughs with your bestie, right? Stretching your body in the morning, oh, right? Getting your workout in. A song that makes you, jam out, whatever the thing is, or, ooh, some good food, your favorite meal from your favorite place, or cook your favorite meal, whatever the case may be, right? But understand all these different ways of pleasure are so good, but they're so valid and they're so important. And as much as I preach and preach and preach about, intimacy and the big O and all of that stuff, we have to understand that practicing our daily pleasure helps us to improve our overall well being. We are essentially rewiring our body to expect and receive goodness. So that's why we have to be mindful. That's why we need to really be, just really take those moments in for ourselves, right? So understand that pleasure, it is a right. It is a radical act of self-love and self-awareness, especially in a world where things are not so great, right? But the more that we know more about our joy or what brings us joy, the more empowered we become in our body, in our choices, our connections with other people, our connection to ourselves, right? And don't wait until the weekend or vacation or some relationship to start your own pleasure practice. You have to begin today. Okay, this is your homework. Begin today. A breath, a touch, a taste, a moment of stillness, a moment of peace that you may be needing for yourself. Okay. um, but overall, you have to think about what makes you happy, what is making you happy, and how can you do that for yourself. So I'm going to challenge you. I'm challenging you this week, or essentially this week, last week, this week, um, to spend 5 minutes today and just write down 10 things that make you happy or bring you pleasure outside of intimacy. Okay. This includes sights you like to see, sounds you like to see, textures, tastes, smells. I was just talking with friends yesterday about how I love amusement parks, how they make me belly laugh because they bring me so much joy to get on those rides and go up and down and all around, right? Um, so anyway, spend 5 minutes, write those 10 things down, then choose one and intentionally experience it before today ends. That's your homework, okay? And then when you do that, I want you to kind of go back and feel like, how did that moment feel in your body? How did that moment really feel in your body after you chose what you are going to experience in this type of joy, okay, that you're going to have today? So again, that's your homework for today. Thank you so, so much for joining me live. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to always put them in the comments. Feel free to DM me. Feel free to email me at gettips@velvetlipsexed.com. And I will be glad to uh, get those questions answered for you. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have an amazing Monday. Remember, there are still tickets left for SDS, so please make sure you use my code MarlaSDS to get 20% off of your registration. Can't wait to see you there. I'm so excited. Oh my God, I got to get my whole itinerary together. So super excited about that opportunity, and trying to make it happen for ourselves. So this is it. This is it. So, love you all. Thank you all for joining me, and have a wonderful and amazing day. All right. Have a good one. Bye.